Good morning and welcome to the SDG Media Zone at South by Southwest in Austin, sponsored by SAP. This morning's panel is called Partnering for Purpose. My name is Lance Gould and I'm the editorial director of Earth's Call. And with me this morning is Janis Fratamico, VP of Global Brand Experience at SAP, Patricia Hayes, Director for the Pfirefly Service Unit of the Girl Scouts of Central Texas, and Funai, SVP of Engineering at Under Armour. Welcome everybody. The first 16 SDGs are each affiliated with a somewhat recognized global movement for social good, health, poverty, climate, etc. But the final global goal, SDG 17, concerns partnerships, and it is a recognition by the UN that the public sector and civil society will never be able to reach the SDGs alone. We're going to need the private sector to contribute capital to achieve the goals. So it's very fitting today that our panelists are involved in a wonderful partnership for social good, one that involves not just one, but two brands, SAP and Under Armour. And for this initiative, they've teamed up with the Girl Scouts. So first, I will ask Janis from SAP, give us a little background on the project. Tell us how this effort came about and how it has been executed.
All right. Well, this was a fun project to put together. As we were thinking about how to celebrate International Women's Day and at the same time continue to put our purpose-driven narrative out there in the public. We saw the story this was a few months ago, where the 9-year-old girl wrote a letter to Steph Curry and said, "Why can't I buy Steph Curry 5s on the girls' site for Under Armour when girls can wear your sneakers?" And he replied very quickly and said, "You're right, we're going to fix that right away." And it was a great story, and it kind of went viral, and Under Armour is a great customer of SAP's, and we thought, well, this is an opportunity to do something with Under Armour beyond the customer-vendor relationship and really do something special. So we reached out to Under Armour and said, we want to do something with the Steph Curry 5s, and we want to use them to give back and help celebrate International Women's Day. And Under Armour rose to the challenge very quickly and partnered with us so that we could buy a whole bunch of Steph Curry 5s. And then when we were like, okay, we're at South by Southwest for International Women's Day, what are we going to do? And it was, I think, the beginning of cookie time. And I don't know, me or my colleague Kaylee passed a box of Thin Mints and went, we need to partner with the Girl Scouts. And they're also a wonderful customer of ours. And so it really kind of opened up a new way for us to partner instead of with our traditional channel partners that we work with in the software implementation space, but to really partner with our customers. So we're really excited that Under Armour again rose to the challenge very quickly. We're going to give away as many Steph Curry 5s as we possibly can to the Girl Scouts of Greater Texas, and they'll use that for underserved girls in the community. So we're really excited about it.
That's amazing. I'm going to jump to Patricia here. How are you deciding how to distribute the sneakers, and have you given any away yet?
So I checked in with our wonderful staff here at Girl Scouts of Central Texas, and the decision's been made to give it to one of our community troops. We have a lot of troops in our area, but we have some that we've set up specifically to meet girls who are in need, who are historically underrepresented, and might not have the parental support to create their own troops. And so Girl Scouts of Central Texas has chosen one of our community troops to give the sneakers away to. They have not been given away yet. So there's going to be a huge, it's going to be a huge surprise to some girls later on.
Oh, that's incredible. And from the Under Armour seat at the table, what was it like working in partnership with another brand toward a social good goal? And did it open up new perspectives on purpose in business? And lastly, was your team familiar with the SDGs and SDG 17 before this effort?
Sure. So honestly, the Under Armour brand is rooted in partnership. From day one of this company, such as partnerships are just really representative of who we are as a company and as a brand. And SAP, as we mentioned, is a technology partner. Great technology. If you're here in the zone here, can go play some hoops, see what our data does together. Amazing things like that. But it comes down to values too. Your partnerships are rooted in the values. So again, Girl Scouts I was a Girl Scout. I grew up a Girl Scout, and your partnerships for us, whether it's through our athletes, and we've got, such a long-standing history of amazing female athletes, Lindsey Vonn, everyone's seen, long-standing Under Armour athlete, staying with the brand in her retirement as well. Kelly O'Hara, I'm a soccer player, go women's national team. And Steph Curry, who made a lot of news, obviously, with this, but it's about coming together values and, really just that personal feeling that we're more than companies and can do something wonderful for the world. And on the last part of the question there, these are goals that have been put together by nearly 200 countries, right? So many of these are meaningful to Under Armour as a company and something that we believe in, whether it's gender equality, health and wellness, sustainable cultures and futures. This is something. Our Map My Fitness application, you can actually log a fitness application called plogging, which is going and picking up trash while you're walking. So again, it's really
amazing.
That's a fitness activity you can log with us if you do that. And I
love that.
Yeah. So there's really it's really part and intertwined in our culture and what we are at Under Armour.
I can do a lot of that in my hometown of New York.
Please do. Please do.
What else are SAP and Under Armour doing to collaborate with others in the social good under the social good tent?
So we're doing a lot. One of the other programs that my team is leading is called the Circular Economy 2030, and it's a really big global partnership with Google Cloud. And it was an opportunity for us to team with a business partner of ours for the greater good, where we realized that UN SDG 12 around sustainable consumption and production was something that if we brought our two technologies together, we can address that goal. So we've got a global competition out right now. Mm-hmm. The last chance for submissions is March 17th, and we'll have a panel on it tomorrow, actually. But it's an opportunity for social entrepreneurs to enter this competition to help solve SDG 12. So that's just an example of an enormous partnership. We also have a partnership with PwC around gender equality, so we do a lot.
And back to your Google partnership,
Yeah.
I think you mentioned when we spoke earlier that there was a contest with a great deal of money on the line.
Yes, $100,000 prize is first prize, and then the 4 runners-up get $25,000 each, and they get access to technology, and we'll be announcing the grand prize winner at Sapphire in May, our big user group conference. So.
Excellent. And that's a really good example of how SDG 17 works, is because, again, we need to spur that private capital to really innovate and iterate. Mm-hmm. How about at Under Armour?
Sure. So one of the things we're most proud of is a partnership with the Baltimore Public Schools. So Under Armour is headquartered in Baltimore, very Baltimore proud, Baltimore strong, and it started very interesting enough, I guess I should say, or maybe obviously for Under Armour, is we're just going to outfit every student athlete in the Baltimore Public Schools, and whether they're playing bocce ball or the football player on the field, everyone deserves a really amazing uniform and really amazing equipment. But it grew into so much more. Bringing in more partners. How can we help academic improvement? How can we help the school district improve? How can we help kids get to college? How can we help GPAs improve? So that is just, again, something we're so proud of, is that longstanding partnership with the Baltimore Public Schools and the city, and being part of the city of Baltimore as well.
If you have any extra bocce ball uniforms.
Is there a bocce team in the Baltimore Public
really
Schools?
want one of those.
'Cause I could have actually made that team. I didn't know that.
Patricia, from a more serious topic, Texas was hit really hard a few years ago with Hurricane Harvey. When we spoke a few days ago, you had mentioned about a really cool program that the Girl Scouts from Central Texas had partnered with a local disaster relief network. Could you tell us a little bit about that? And it was such an inspiring story.
So my local area, Serve Council, for those who don't understand, Girl Scouts of Central Texas, and we have service units, and so I'm a director for one, and that's in our local Pflugerville area. Go Pflugerville! And
you have a bocce team?
Just no bocce team. But we have a really powerful, really engaged group of girls, of like a little over 400 girls up in that area, just north of Austin. And when the hurricane hit, we have girls who want to give back, and it's hard to figure out how little ones can give back and help, especially when they have family members who were impacted by the storms, down in in Houston area and in South Texas. And so, quite accidentally, my daughter and I were at a different troop meeting, and one of the moms was talking about how when she had gone to the convention center to volunteer, that, she saw frazzled parents, and there were children who were running around, and so you got parents trying to fill out forms and do things, and there wasn't anything to do. And so we're like, there wasn't anything to do. I'm like, I think we have something we could do with that. And what we did was we leveraged my daughter's Silver Award project, where she had created activity kits for groups of children at one of the local nonprofits. And the whole purpose was to keep children engaged while the parents were getting counseling for something else. So we said, we think we can scale that same project. And so we went and we ran, and quite frankly, it was a little difficult finding someone to partner with, because we had the idea, but it's like it doesn't do any good if we have it and we can't get it to the people who need it. And so we contacted the disaster network, disaster relief network here locally, and they were like, absolutely, you do it, we'll get it to the kids. And so in basically a week and a half's time, we put the word out to all of our Girl Scouts in our area. Stuff just started pouring in. And then on a Saturday afternoon, I still get chills thinking about it, there were over 100 girls and their moms putting these activity kits together for the children. And we had a goal of one per girl in our service unit, which would have been 400. We ended up pulling together over 750 activity kits that we created.
Amazing.
And turned in. So we were very proud of that. And it's one of those things of pulling together an idea, leveraging a concept that was created originally by a girl, and then partnering with someone to make it happen.
It's such a beautiful example of SDG 17 coming to life. It really is. It is important to note that today is International Women's Day, and all of us on the panel are wearing purple to celebrate and to commemorate that, to mark the occasion, and to support international efforts for gender equality. And gender equality is, of course, SDG number 5 in the SDGs. Can you each tell us what your organizations are doing to recognize women both in the workplace and vis-a-vis the SDGs?
So we have a whole lot. What I love about SAP is that we have product that we sell, we have our own internal programs, and then we have external programs that all recognize gender equality. So it really, truly is authentic to who we are. We have partnerships with the Female Quotient, which is a couple blocks away, and we have some beautiful artwork celebrating gender equality that we've unveiled there today.
And what is the Female Quotient?
The Female Quotient is a UN-affiliated organization,
oh, yes, right. Okay.
For gender equality. So we also have a product that we sell called Business Beyond Bias, and it eliminates unconscious bias through machine learning, and we sell that to our customers, which is a really fantastic product. We're the first multinational technology company to receive EDGE certification, which is really the gold standard for gender equality certification. And then we also have an external program called SAP Women Forward, which is a community we've built for our customers. We have our internal business network. And I should also mention a program that we got involved in this year, both in APJ and in the United States, to bring returnships back to the workplace. So women who've taken time off to care for their families and sponsoring them to come back for a 4-month period of time as a return instead of an intern, and help fill that gap on their resume. So that's one of the programs I was really proud to do, yeah.
So we have a few things that are pretty interesting going on. So one thing inside of Under Armour, very, very committed to lifting up women in the workplace. Women support women. Help folks get on that wonderful career track and advance their careers at the company. We have an internal group we call it WIL, Women Inspiring, Leading, and Learning. And even though we're a Baltimore company, I am based here in Austin. We have a huge engineering contingent here in Austin, and very proud that we're a digitally focused site here in Austin. About a third of our population is women. We've actually just launched a separate chapter because we had such a large population for that WIL group. So just wonderful supportive group of women. Under Armour as a company, there's the Black Girls Global Exchange, and we sponsored a number of women and girls to go be part of that. And it's really a cultural exchange to drive social good in the world, bringing Black girls from cultures and countries all over together for a common purpose. And that's something we're very proud to have supported. And then again, back to the Steph Curry piece. we actually launched a special version of the Curry shoe today in purple. There is one of our running
fantastic.
shoes, our Infinite shoe. We've also launched a special edition for International Women's Day. And along with that, the Curry Foundation has announced the proceeds from that shoe are going to go to a scholarship for a girl in the Oakland area in need.
Oh,
so,
amazing.
Again, it's all rooted in values for us, and those partnerships are so important.
We're Girl Scouts. We're kind of covered.
But
That said-
but vis-a-vis the SDGs.
But that said, Girl Scouts nationally and throughout all the councils nationwide are very committed to empowering young women as they grow so that they can be leaders in their communities and across the country and internationally. And so literally the entire programming is based in that. And then pulling together girls, we've supported, there's so many things, but I'm thinking about the fact that we've supported girls who, we took a group of girls to the UN last year. It was so powerful to see those girls be able to participate at that level, getting girls to engage at national levels, not just in their community, so they can be exposed to other people, other countries. We have girls who travel around the world every year on Girl Scout destinations, and so that they can be exposed to other cultures, to learn about the needs that are outside of their own community needs, and that will build them and help them to be able to be good global citizens. Just be good global citizens, not just in their local communities.
Excellent. And you mentioned your daughter earlier, and she's here in the audience. Just wanted to give her a shout out.
You're going to get me in trouble.
It might be instructive to the audience to hear a little more about each of your own personal stories and your personal journeys to success. Can you tell us about how you got started on the road to becoming as successful as you are, and what secrets you might share with the audience today on International Women's Day?
Yeah, I failed a lot. I was fired from my first job out of college. So I had my first job for 9 months. They went bankrupt. I was out of work, and I was a failure at the age of 22. And I failed a lot since then. And I hope to continue to fail a lot because I've learned from every one of those failures. And I've been proud to work for people who have allowed those in my work. I never say no, much to the chagrin of people who work for me. I honestly never say no because I just always get excited about the opportunity to make everything better. And I want to say the one thing that I really strive for, and I've had a lot of different jobs in some different industries along the way, is my old boss, Ginny Rometty, who is the CEO of IBM right now, has said, growth and comfort cannot coexist. And I believe that in my soul. And I don't think I've ever really spent a moment in my current role feeling comfortable at all. But I think we can do great things when we get out of our comfort zone. So it's a lot of sleepless nights and a lot of plastic surgery required, but all for goodness.
Gosh, my journey it's quite interesting. I think I'll just say I call it the village, and having a village to support you from day one. My mother did not have her college degree when I went off to college, and I'm an attorney by training, and but no, there was no one like that who had done that in my family. But I grew up around family, community, church folks who were all very adamant about education. And that is what, always motivated me. I was always a little, high strung. So, but motivating, there are a few people laughing out there, y'all. Shh. But
I'm going for confirmation to your daughter.
yeah. But that said there are moments when you have to know that you can do whatever you need to do regardless of what people are saying around you. We all know that, formally, being lawyers are, a male-dominated field. And so going out after that as a young black female, that was a whole lot more. One of my favorite stories was when I was in law school and I was having a difficult time. And I was sitting in front of the dean of students, who was telling me you need to not do this and this and that. And I said, respectfully, Dean, it's your job to tell me what I cannot do, and it's my job to tell you what I can. And that is basically, I still stayed in
Amazing.
law school.
You can't drop the mic, but you should drop it.
But that is the tone with which I've lived my life and been able to experience a great number of firsts in my career, and that's the legacy I look forward to sharing with all the girls, my own daughter, and other girls that I come in contact with.
It's incredible.
I feel like I should say ditto to the first two, so many of those points. I actually am a former IBMer as well, so I'm very familiar with that quote, and it's one I've always loved. And I also am in a very male-dominated industry, too, as part of engineering. And remember being one of 3 women in my freshman computer science class out of a class of about 45. And
Wow.
that was the early 90s. So, but, you know, let me kind of end on a very positive note, though. I think one thing I have done in my career is I went out and I looked for interesting assignments, those things that at the end of the day I could come home and look myself in the mirror and know, like, there's some purpose to it. So whether, you know, even, one of my IBM jobs, I was building firmware for machines, but you know what? It was the machines that were driving cognitive solutions in the systems that won Jeopardy, right? And that I knew could change the world one day. So even rooted in this pure technology problem that side of my brain loved, I've always just looked for that job, looked for the position in the company. I worked at an education software company after IBM before Under Armour. And, Under Armour for me, like I mentioned earlier, I'm a soccer player. Since I was 6, I played soccer, played all through college. I'm actually going to have to go play tonight even, and I still play. It's my happy place. And, to bring my tech life and my jock life together has been so meaningful to me. And just in the craziest of days, on the hardest of days, you go back to something like, God, I really love what I do. And, I think that would be something hopefully others would find meaningful.
Wow. Well, for me, sitting here on International Women's Day, it's so inspiring to hear each of your stories, and each of you have such moving stories. And I'm going to throw a question to you that I didn't prepare you for, but
Is this working?
how can men be allies to women, and what can we do better?
That's a really good question. And everybody is saying this now, so this isn't something like, wow, but men are obviously critical to the success of women. One of the things that I think is really important, and this, you may not be able to ask another question because I'm going to answer part of it, but with the Me Too movement, so much has changed over the past year and a half. And one of the things that can't change is, to some degree, men's willingness to interact with women. And, the pendulum has it swings back and forth, right? And a lot has come to light because of Me Too in a good way. But there is some fear, I think, with some men, like, okay, I can't have a one-on-one meeting with you, or I can't invite you to fly, to this meeting with me, because they have a fear of being called out. I mean, that can't happen either. The rules have to apply, the same rules have to apply for men and for women. So if you're going to go out and play golf with your buddies or with the guys and there's no women joining, you better be, committed to do the same thing with a group of women. Or if you're going to go out drinking, you've got to invite the women too. Like, you can't, the pendulum can't swing in a way that the fear puts women at a disadvantage, because they're not getting that same FaceTime and that same sponsorship opportunities that men are. So I think we've got to find that happy medium, but I think men have to really stay committed and very aware to not let fear get in the way of progress.
I feel really strongly about this issue, so I'm going to keep it short. I think, number one, men need to be consistent. They need to learn how to be advocates publicly, because talking about it behind closed doors is different than being in front and standing up for a woman in a meeting, helping her to support her ideas, not steal the ideas. And remember that you have a mother and maybe a daughter or a sister, and that if you would you want them to experience what you may be putting out to another woman that you're working with?
Mm-hmm. I love that point. Just to follow up with that one, during the Me Too, the unfolding of the Me Too scandal and the movement, there were some men who said, I have a daughter, and that's why this upsets me. And some of those men were then critiqued for saying, hey, you should feel this way anyway. So
Because you're a human.
because you're a human. So I just wanted to follow up with what you just said. Can you address that?
Well, I mean, that's true. But the reality is sometimes people, they put themselves in this bubble. And it's that whole, oh, well, that doesn't affect me, or that doesn't affect my daughter, or it only matters if it affects my daughter or my sister or whatever. So you take that out of it, is that if you're dealing with a woman you do not know, and if you're treating her in a way that's not respectful, not recognizing the power with which she comes to you, then you need to think about, if that's the reference that helps you get out of that mode, then yeah, think about your mama, think about your sister, think about your daughter, and help yourself get out of being disrespectful and disempowering.
Excellent.
Well, I feel like once again I'm left to say yes and yes. But well, I guess what I can add to that is say, just listen. So, there's this wonderful term, mansplaining, and
Let me tell you what that is.
Exactly. That was quick. I like that. I did like that.
You were just waiting for that.
No, I know. It's like I said, softball. But it's listening. And let me extrapolate this a little bit beyond International Women's Day. Black History Month, Pride Month for our LGBTQ family. Listen to them and the experiences they've had. I have not been in the shoes, here of Patricia. I need to listen, understand, and learn, and not try to tell her or purport to how she's lived her life, whether as a woman or as an African-American woman, right? That's not my place. And I think, if we had a little more of that empathy and listening, I think that goes a long way. Listening, I think, leads to understanding, leads to believing when we start to talking about the Me Too moments, and the challenges that come up through this.
Well, thank you all for that inspiring segment. And now I'm going
It's important to know, too, by the way, the companies who have a higher percentage of women board members, the companies that have a higher percentage of women leaders, they do better. So everybody makes money. Everybody is successful when women are successful. So it really is, when you said, it's a human thing.
You're right. And you quoted your old boss. I'm going to quote my old boss, Ariana Huffington, who one lesson I learned from her is don't look at any other companies as competitors. Look at everyone as potential collaborators, which is a really good SDG 17 message in terms of partnership. I'm going to switch gears now and go back to Patricia and talk about a different SDG, which is related to climate. I just read earlier this week that the Girl Scouts have added climate change to their curriculum, and the Girl Scouts of Colorado have added a climate change patch. So can you talk a little bit about that, which is such an inspiring thing?
Yeah, so Girl Scouts are, we're always doing something fantastic and awesome. And so I went looking on that. And in the various areas, you can come up with your own patches or create things. So that's I think that's one of the ones that you talked about. But at a national level in the programming, Girl Scouts has been very active in expanding some of their traditional curriculum to include things on environmental issues, include things on STEM, of course, and even combining some of those things. And so it filters down through the councils nationally to help to either expand upon those things, provide new opportunities. And the fantastic thing about it is that it goes from the babies, from daisies, all the way up to the high schoolers. It gets translated in a way that all girls can get exposed to. So it's not just the eco advocate at at my daughter's age that gets to explore those issues, but all the way down to the daisies. It just gets translated in a way that they can understand it. But there's a number of environmental patches that have been added. I can't begin to add them all, but I'm thinking about the eco advocate. I'm thinking about the water one. Those are the two biggest ones that I can think of. But the opportunities, and of course, the girls being able to pursue a number of issues when they're pursuing their big awards, the Gould Awards, which I think you guys are going to learn about later on today. But I serve on the Gould Award committee at our local council, and we see a lot of projects that are related to the environment.
That's incredible. The name of this panel, again, is Partnering for Purpose, and we've talked a lot about partnering. But let's talk for a minute about purpose. most major corporations have a CSR department, which of course stands for Corporate Sustainable Responsibility. But sometimes it feels like CSR can be a checked box in which a brand is just doing something under the umbrella of social good, but something that's not really aligned with their top or bottom lines. And it feels like there can be an authenticity gap. So do you want to address that?
Yeah. So last year, we launched our new purpose-driven narrative, and it was based on, it was somewhat aspirational, but it was mostly based on who we truly are. And if you hear the conversation from Bill McDermott down, our goal is to make the world run better and improve people's lives. And it is truly what we believe, and we believe we can do that through enabling businesses with our technology, that they can make the world run better and we can help them. And so the purpose-driven narrative was really created in order to reflect the truth of who we are. And so it's not, it's funny because CSR still sits in SAP in its own category, and they check the box. Mm-hmm. In a very meaningful and impactful way, so I don't want to minimize it at all, but it's really, when you look at the customer stories that we share, the customer stories that we share are the ones where those customers are changing the world through technology. When you look at the investments that we're making in new products that we're developing, they're products that can seriously change a lot of these SDGs. So I believe it's authentic to who we are as SAP. It's what we're going to celebrate. It's the stories that we're going to invest in. It's why we want to inspire our customers to work with us. And I think, by the way, it used to be a box to check. It's going to be a demand of the market. It is already. If you are an investor, if you are a consumer, if you are an employee, you want to work with a company, you want to buy a product, you want to be a part of a team that's committed to making the world run better. So it's going to be a good thing because CSR is going to be no longer that checked box. It's going to be something you have to do in order to survive. And that's one of the great ways we're evolving, I think.
Customers and employees want to know what a brand stands for.
Absolutely. It's not just about the paycheck or the payback.
So if I answer that kind of internally and externally, I'll relate a story. My first week of work at Under Armour, and for reference, I've been there about 6 months now. And I apologize if we're going to have to bleep this
And she's
out.
already got all the swag.
Oh, no. How could I not have the swag? It's wonderful, and discounts are wonderful. I apologize if you're going to have to bleep this on a video, but a colleague of mine, my very first week, said, Under Armour has a very low asshole quotient. And I have found that to be so true. My colleagues, all the way up to Kevin Plank, our CEO, to the folks who are really grinding it out every day. It's people just love what they do. There's a purpose there. I mean, it's something. A friend of mine just joined the company. I brought her on. I might have stolen her away from another company and had brought her over. But she's just every day. She's like, I'm almost in tears when we start to talk about customer success stories. And again, we say Under Armour makes you better. When these stories around fitness goals, health goals, very tied to the SDG here, health and well-being. But part of that DNA is we have something every year called Armour Day, where we as a company go out into the community, give back. We build into with HR give back as part of it. We have give back days as part of our PTO program. So I think it really pervades that, and that low asshole quotient is something I found so to be true. And then externally, I think one of the things that I thought was really neat is you see NBA All-Star Weekend. It's usually about all the parties and blah 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 blah. Our athletes went and gave back to the community of Charlotte, and
wow.
Rebuilt a court in a community center, and not just Steph Curry, but Joel Embiid was there. One of our other athletes. I mean, I think that, and the fact that they wanted to do that, they said, no, we don't want to be about partying, right? We want to do something for the community of Charlotte while we're there for NBA weekend. It says something to what we look for in the athletes, what we look for in our teammates that are employees of Under Armour, and what we want to be a part of as we partner in the communities.
I'll rephrase what you said as low jerk quotient, but that's actually SDG 8, decent work and economic growth. Having a decent workspace.
AKA low jerk quotient.
Yeah.
I wanted to add something in there.
Sure.
Because I'm an avid reader, and there's a book on my bookshelf called Authentic Leadership, which is written by former chairman and CEO of, I'm going to say it wrong, Metatronics. mess it up. But anyway, the point is that authenticity is a leadership issue, and it has to start at the top, or it needs to start in, in some core places where people can can see it, believe it, and follow it. Otherwise it doesn't seem real, or it won't really filter throughout the organization, regardless of what it is.
I have a couple more questions. How are we doing on time? Okay, great. One new initiative that I'm currently involved in is a partnership between a foundation called Earth's Call, for which I'm the editorial director, and the MacArthur Foundation's Lever for Change. Earth Call has committed $50 million to Lever for Change to fund ideas that can combat the climate crisis, which affects so many of the SDGs. What would be on your wish list, each of you, when it comes to partnerships that can turn the tide on the SDGs? And what advice would you offer to people watching this panel who want to make change but feel like the problems are too great for them to actually move the needle? Let's start in reverse this time.
Sure. I'm actually going to, maybe in a way you don't intend, tie the questions together. And I think to start to achieve the SDG goals, it's everyone can make a difference. So, to the latter part about what can we do, it's like don't wait for a company or someone to tell you what to do. I think it's about making the first move yourself. Like, go make that first move yourself to make a difference about something you're passionate about something that can move the needle on one of these items. And, just it comes all together if you really make that first move yourself and you get passionate about it. You can bring people with you, right? Leadership is getting to people to believe around you as well. So, that would be kind of my wish list there.
Yeah, I agree with what you were just saying, and I was thinking about it when I saw that question about water dripping on a rock. And it doesn't break down automatically, but after time, because the water just drops and drops and drops, and it will wear it away. And sometimes that's what has to happen on issue. We want things and change to happen overnight. It doesn't work that way. Not when it's going to be long-standing and effective. But again, you've got to make a difference where you are and not being overwhelmed, because that's an easy way to give in, right? But just say, okay, what can I do different today? And then go be an advocate for that today, and then do something else the next day. And I think it's that matter of being persistent and being consistent over time that will be helpful in making sure that all of these things get accomplished.
I think, I said before, the market's going to demand that companies really rally and address these SDGs. So I'll end on a more, I think, personal, individual note. A couple of years ago, my daughter came back from a religion class, I think it was, and she had a starfish in her hand. And I said, what do you have this starfish for? And she said, well, we heard this story about there was this great flood, or I'm going to get the weather event wrong, but like millions of starfish washed up on the beach. And there was this one little kid who was throwing them back in the water. And I'm sure you've heard this story, right? And somebody came and said, what are you doing? It's going to take years to get all those. It's not going to make a difference. And he kind of held up the starfish and it's going to make a difference to this one. And I've always found that to be such a powerful story. We still have the starfish sitting on a shelf. I don't think she's ever been back to religion class, but we have the starfish sitting on the shelf. And it's just when you see the power of what you can do when you're passionate about something and you believe in it and you truly want to make things better, that you can just help that one person. And I'm proud to work for a company that's going to be helping a lot more than that. But we have just such power as individuals, and the people that you touch in your life will never forget it. So.
Well, I have very sincerely taken away so many messages from each of you today. I mean, it's really so glad that the three of you are on this panel with me, and to celebrate International Women's Day and to celebrate partnerships. And thank you for making this such a great partnership today.
This was a lot of fun. Thank you.
Thank you.